In the last video, while trying to slice the stem of a jack-o'-lantern to be printed in a different color, I ran into an issue with PrusaSlicer. It saw something with no extrusions in the first layer and threw up an error condition and refused to go any further. I was able to trick it by adding a tiny one-layer high box and manually editing that out of the resulting Gcode. That got the job done, but manual editing is subject to error. It would be so much easier if it would just let the user decide if that's a real problem or not. Arguably, all software should work on that principle. As long as the potential result doesn't threaten life or limb, software should warn but allow the user to proceed at their own risk. In this case, all it threatens is producing some spaghetti, hardly the end of the world. Fortunately, PrusaSlicer is free software, so I cloned the repo and got to hacking. Once I started, I ended up making several useful changes that can help anyone wanting to use the multicolor and inlay techniques I have shown here. I have submitted the earlier patches to PrusaSlicer's developers, but so far I hear only crickets. Looking at a few other discussions on their GitHub site, it seems they may not be interested in these features and capabilities. So it goes, that's fair enough, though it might be nice if they would say so rather than just ignoring it. That's why free software wins every time. Forking the software to meet particular needs is common and accepted. Getting to the point, I have made all of the modifications available on GitHub at github.com/pyro9/PrusaSlicer. I recommend the 4-axis 2 branch based on the latest 2.7.0 Alpha 1 code. It has all of the modifications already made. If you really need the stable version of PrusaSlicer, use my 4-axis 1 branch. If you don't care to compile it yourself, I have also made pre-compiled app images available for Linux and DMGs for Mac. If someone has the needed build environment for Windows, let me know. I have a machine I can test on, just not the build environment. Please remember that these are not official releases from Prusa, and they don't even know exactly what changes I made. Don't blame them if it all goes wrong, and please don't complain to them about bugs I might have introduced. Perhaps the best way to show the new capabilities is to just show you how it works now. First, some setup. In Configuration, Preferences, General, check No Gravity, Parts Can Float. Select Expert Mode. In Print Settings, Output Options, Advanced Output, a new section, check Errors are Warnings. Also check Complete Individual Objects at the top of that page under Sequential Printing. In Filament Settings, Filament Overrides, check Lift Z and set it to 4 mm. In Printer Settings, Custom Gcode, in between Objects Gcode, add M600. Optionally, you can add a comment to help you find it if you need to manually edit. This will cause it to do a manual color change routine between pieces. It's all ready to go now. So I import the jack-o'-lantern step file as before. As you can see, it's sinking into the bed. That's because the bottom of the jack-o'-lantern was below the XY plane in CAD. With gravity turned off, the slicer leaves it where it is rather than forcing it to be on the bed. I can fix it by clicking the Drop to Bed button in the Object Manipulation plane. You'll notice that I have removed the sacrificial square fused to the stem. Now I right-click Jack-o'-lantern, Split, 2 objects. In the official version, the stem would drop to the bed, but again the slicer leaves it where it is. Of course, turn on supports from the build plate. You can see a support for the stem growing right through the jack-o'-lantern. That's an unfortunate side effect. The slicer assumes objects can't be stacked on top of other objects, but they can now. So right-click on the stem, add settings, support material, and check Generate Support Material. Now select support material under the stem and uncheck the box. You'll see a warning that first layer is empty. It's referring to the stem object, but now it's just a warning, so it will generate the G-code just fine. I could turn off sequential printing and use the same procedure as I have used in past videos, where I turn on each single object in turn, generate G-code for that object, and either send them to the printer sequentially, changing the filament for each, or manually edit the G-code files together, removing the unneeded parts at the beginning and end that shut down, rehome, then heat up again. Sometimes that would be necessary in order to avoid a nasty collision. If you need to splice G-code files together, you can use the Elide Start and or the Elide End options in Advanced Output to get rid of the startup or shutdown G-codes respectively. But even better, since I added a color change between objects, the slicer will now do all of that for me. Note that the objects in the list must be ordered from bottom to top. If they're not, you can drag them into the correct order. You'll see all sorts of warnings about conflicts in G-code paths and objects too tall, etc. But as long as you step through the preview to make sure there's no crashes, you're good. Speaking of that, let's look at the transition between the jack-o'-lantern and the stem. I'll scroll down to the first layer of the stem. Now I'll click on the bed in the preview image and use the left arrow to step back into printing the layer. You'll notice that I've replaced the arrow indicating the nozzle with an actual simplified MK8 nozzle. It loads that in as an STL file. I made a simplified nozzle end in FreeCAD and exported it as an STL. If you want a custom nozzle, or better, the entire bottom of your hot end assembly, model it in CAD with the nozzle opening at the origin, then export it as nozzle.stl, note the capital N, in the directory with your configuration files. In Linux, that's your home directory .config/PrusaSlicer, or PrusaSlicer-alpha for the alpha versions. In Mac, instead of .config, it's your home, library, application support. In Windows, it's one of C:\users/your username/app data /roaming/slicer, or C:\documents and settings /username/application data /slicer. Why, that's a lot of backslashes. Or at least that's what the comment in the code says. If you don't want to design your own, there are a number of useful step files of nozzles and entire hot ends available on GrabCAD. Now I'll step back a bit and I can actually see that there are no nozzle collisions. One further mod, you can keep stepping with the left and right arrows and it will move to the previous or next layer and continue. You can roll up the legend to see the G-code it doesn't step through at the layer transition. I'm not sure why it skips over that part. I'm glad I did this when I was testing my changes. There was an awkward spot where it lifted the nozzle according to the lift Z setting, but then for some reason it plunged it back into the jack-o'-lantern, then moved to the first point of the next layer. I added one more patch so that when it does a Z lift, it never lowers the nozzle until it unlifts Z in preparation for printing. Now it lifts Z at the end of the jack-o'-lantern, moves X and Y to the first point in the stem, then lowers the nozzle into place. Since I can't imagine any case where it is necessary or in any way better to lower the nozzle before a travel move, that change is not optional. I can only imagine that lowering then traveling was some kind of thinko. It happens. Note that since the patch to avoid plunging into the first print uses the lift Z behavior, you must set a lift Z value even if it appears unnecessary. As long as it's set, you avoid the crash. You can see this in the print preview. The top of the jack-o'-lantern finishes, then it lifts Z to 47.4 millimeters, then it moves to the perimeter point of the stem's first layer, and as a result of a call to unlift, lowers the nozzle to 41.2 millimeters. You can see that it is going to do the right thing by stepping through the layers. The nozzle fits down into the depression at the top of the jack-o'-lantern with no problems. I really do recommend using a custom STL of the bottom of your hot end. When I do this with a model of an E3D V6 nozzle, it looks like it gets dangerously close to a crash. Various auto bed leveling probes could be a problem as well. I saw that Stefan from CNC Kitchen used an adapter for the E3D V6 with an airbrush nozzle on it to get extra clearance for some non-planar printing. They seem to be readily available on Amazon, AliExpress, and other places and might be worth checking out. Since E3D nozzles will also fit an MK8, I may try one myself. He also found that a volcano nozzle with a couple of M6 nuts on it will work as well, giving some extra clearance. No idea how that might work with a Penda probe. Machines that use a load cell or a strain gauge to probe the bed with the tip of the nozzle should work just fine. Don't let the ease of use in these new features fool you. It does no advanced collision detection. In this expert mode hack, you are entirely responsible for making sure the nozzle and hot end will not collide with any of the printed objects. The use of the actual nozzle shape as an indicator helps, but the final call will be visual. Just a final note. These techniques are worth looking at even if you have some sort of MMU or tool changer that makes filament swaps easy and automatic. By reducing the number of swaps, you make the print go faster. Tool changes take time and filament changes can take even more. You also reduce the filament waste in the form of waste blocks and printer poop. Given more work on the slicer, even more complex multicolor shapes can probably be managed with less color changes by printing multiple layers of one color and then backfilling with another. That will depend in part on having a hot end with a good clearance around the nozzle. So in addition to being very helpful for those of us who are doing manual color changes, this is also a good way to learn how much we can get away with when backfilling and how we can make the hardware better at it. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video or found it useful, please like, subscribe, and share. If there's anything you'd like to see covered here, please let me know in the comments below.